Hey, welcome to today's Instagram story. And today, as I said, I would talk about the Leica M3 in my point of view. For those who don't know, the Leica M3 was the first Leica M bayonet camera, and it was designed, I think, in like 1954 and came with frame lines for 50, 90, and 135. It had been coming from the Barnack Leicas, which were screw mount, and these were a brand new system, which basically had a bayonet, which was an easy to change lens. Okay, so that's what Leica came out with, and the M3 was a huge hit. They were expensive, but people loved them. And to me, in my opinion, nowadays, the second Leica that came out, the M2, which is this one in my hand, is the one I use mostly. For that, the reason is basically that I use a 35 all the time. So if you're using an M3, you're gonna need to have the goggles if you wanna use a 35, or you're gonna be stuck with 50, 90, or 135. Also, the M3 has a problem that it won't focus anything closer than 1 meter. So if you're shooting modern lenses from Leica, you're gonna be stuck to that 1 meter distance, minimal distance. So if, for example, this lens is a 35 summicron, which is not something you would put on a Leica M3, but let's say you have a 50, this would focus all the way down to half a meter. Wait, that's the opposite. Would go all the way down to 0.7 meters. So on a Leica M3, this wouldn't be able to be done. You could go with your lens, but the camera won't tell you if you're focusing or not. So that's a big fault if you're using modern glass. The only lens I know that uses the 1 meter distance still is the Noctilux. It's the 0.95 lens from Leica, 50 millimeter. And that's a great reason. So yeah, if you're gonna be buying a Leica M3, I would suggest you have to be a strong 50 millimeter user or 90 or 135. No one's shooting 135 nowadays. I'm not saying that no one, but a lot of people don't shoot that. And you're gonna wanna like that 1 meter. You have to like the fact that the frame lines for the 50 are kind of fat and roundy, which I don't think are very interesting. I quite like the frame lines on the M2. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the frame lines are thin. You see, they're pretty thin. These are the frame lines for 35. So yeah, if you're shooting a 50, you don't mind the 1 meter distance and so forth, I highly recommend an M3. Also, the frame counter was automatic, which for the M2, they stopped doing that. As you can see, frame counter here has this little wheel that you have to reset. I don't even care for that. I actually just shoot till I finish. And then when I finish my roll, I just keep on loading film again. So yeah, in my opinion, M3 is a camera for those people shooting 50, shooting a 1 meter, shooting Noctilux, or wanting to have the first and supposedly best Leica. That's an opinion that I think each one has their own. If you're shooting this kind of system, you know, the 50 and 1 meter, it probably is the best Leica ever made. It does have the benefit of the viewfinder being the one with the biggest magnification, which means if you're shooting long lenses, it'll be more accurate. The Leica M2 went down to 0.72, and that's been the standard ever since, coming later on to the 0.85 and the 0.58 for wide angle. So yeah, in a Leica M3, my opinion is that if you're a heavy 50 user, or you're never gonna use a 35 lens unless you put the goggles. It has these goggles that go over the lens to make it a little like wider, so you can see those frame lines for 35, which are just 50s with a wider look. It's a great camera. The loading is the same as the M2. You got to take out the whole spool, feed the film in there, and put it back in. It's not the fastest, it's not the slowest either. Rewind is the same system. This little thing that pops out and you just rewind it. People find this really slow. I find this perfectly fast for what I use. I mean, I'm not shooting, you know, like photojournalism nowadays, but if you guys don't like this, there are some adapters to go faster. It has the metallic advanced lever, which is great. I like the grip of this better than the two-piece for the M6 and the M7. And basically, yeah, that's my opinion on the M3. Not a bad camera, but think about it when you want to buy your first Leica, or maybe you're you want to buy another Leica, is it's the camera for 50 millimeters. There's also the M2R. Yeah, I'm gonna get my hands on the M2R one day and make a video for you guys. It's basically the M2 with a faster rewind and faster loading like the M4. So yeah, that's basically my take on the M3. If you guys have any doubts or anything, I made a video on my YouTube. I'll link that below on the YouTube channel comparing the M2 and the M3. I'm not very good at reviews, so I hope you guys don't mind seeing that. But yeah, that's what I think. The speeds were the same. Everything's basically like an M2, but 50, 90, 135. Automatic frame counter and the 0.91 magnification. And I'm telling you, the frame lines, I quite like the M2 much better. But that's a personal opinion, and that's what I'm trying to transmit here. I hope you guys like it. See you in tomorrow's video.